How do sustainability and time apply in your overall health journey and your overall weight loss journey? Let's unpack that today on Warrior Wednesday Wellsprings. Welcome to this brand new series that I'm doing. I'm really excited about this series. Lots of good stuff is going to be coming out in the future here, and just want to say welcome, you guys. So, sustainability and time. I want to unpack that today. And before we get into some other things that I want to share, I actually want to read from my book. All right, there's the book. Okay. In the section where I talk about this, and then we're going to unpack this a little bit more. Sustainability and time are two key factors in your weight loss journey. They go hand in hand with the becoming process. We talked a little bit about the becoming process in our last video from last week when I talked about the from knowing it to unshakably mastering, becoming unshakable, that ladder that I shared from last week. So we talked a little bit about the becoming process then. So they go hand in hand with the becoming process. You cannot have one without the other. They are that closely connected. So, and also here in my book, I use this illustration. Picture a lush tree bearing much fruit and full of beauty. In order for this tree to be so beautiful and so vibrant and so lush and have beautiful fruit, it must have deep roots, right? So the question is, how did that tree get such deep roots? What was the process? Time. Achieving sustainability is about time. And like I read before, you cannot have one without the other. The other thing is it's about the long haul. And I'm actually going to unpack what I mean by the long haul in just a moment. So, but first I want to share a framework that comes directly from my boot camp, my level 1 boot camp. It's my flagship. I've had multiples of people come through that boot camp. I have a global client base because of that boot camp. This is a key cornerstone framework: sustainability and time. The equation moving forward is sustainability, leaning in on God for strength, plus time and the long haul. What does that equate to, though? Well, it literally equates to unshakable transformation in your weight loss journey that honors your worth, glorifies God through every choice, and creates sustainable, lifelong health and freedom with results that last a lifetime. Period. Right? Sustainability and time. So let's talk a little bit about sustainability and the long haul and what all that. I want to unpack the long haul. And one of the reasons why I want to unpack the long haul is because it's important to place the definition on that. Because diet culture has trained us to think long haul being, the next 3 to 4 months, I'm good, right? No. When you make adaptations and create new habits in your journey and create new changes in your journey, all of those must be sustainable for the long haul. Long haul meaning for the next year or two. You now take all the adaptations, all the new changes and new habits you are adapting in the journey, and you filter them through that new frame a year or two. Am I comfortable with sustaining these things consistently for the next year or two? Why that long, you might ask? Because that does sound like a long time. Are you saying that I can't? Are you saying that it's going to take a year or two for these things to sink in and become part of who I am? No, that's not what I'm saying at all. In fact, it most likely is going to take 2 or 3 months, and then those will sink in. I just don't want you thinking that way. I want you thinking, am I comfortable with sustaining these consistently, these new changes, these new habits, new adaptations? Am I comfortable with sustaining these consistently and remaining consistent for the next year or two. Everything you throw into your journey from this point forward gets filtered through that frame. That's what I mean by the long haul. That's why that is so powerful. I also want to use the illustration here. I believe I touched on this in the last video as well. The garden, planting a garden. When a typical person out there goes on a weight loss journey, typically what they do is they take the lawnmower, they mow over all of the weeds, and then they plant this beautiful, glorious garden. And pretty soon the garden's all sprouted up. It looks beautiful. It's colorful. It's wonderful. So that in that picture, that represents the person that's gone on a weight loss adventure through a diet or whatever, lost all the weight, they look beautiful, they were able to fit into that dress or that wedding dress, or they were able to look great and sharp for that event and all that, so they look beautiful. That's the beautiful gardener, right? Then what eventually happens is those weeds come back, and when the weeds come back, it destroys everything that was beautiful, and it creates a mess, and it chokes out all the good colorful stuff that was in that garden. So what that represents is eventually the person gains the weight back, and oftentimes with interest. Oftentimes they gain it back with more weight than ever before. So when we're talking about sustainability and time and how that applies, time is actually your weed killer. Just let that sink in for a minute. Time is actually your weed killer. So you want to plant the garden and have the garden be and stay and be around forever for your life. You need to use time as your weed killer. Time is your friend, directly against the grain of what diet culture teaches you. It cannot be about a diet anymore. No more on that mindset. And I also hesitate with the cleanses and all that other stuff, because oftentimes I see when people go on cleanses, there's often a diet mindset in the back there. It can't be about a diet anymore or anything to do with that kind of mindset. No more. Cleanses have their place. I will say that they do have their place. They can be helpful, but we cannot be using those cleanses as our purpose for losing weight, if that makes sense. I'm sure you're catching what I'm throwing down here. Sustainability and time are key factors in your journey. In the long haul, time, long haul, a year or two, right? Let that sink in, because moving forward, that's how you're filtering the adaptations and changes. I have kept my weight off for 7+ years now. If there was a secret to how I do that, this is it. This framework is it. Because every adaptation, every change in my journey had enough time to sink in and become part of who I was. That's how I've been able to keep the weight off, because there was an inward transformation that happened in here and up here. That's how it's done. Diet culture, diets, there's a reason why it's a $1 trillion industry. The whole diet industry and that whole culture is actually built on failure. Did you know that? That's a fact. It's built on failure. They're banking on the fact you're going to come back eventually. That is not a system that produces real, lasting results. Gone are the days where we buy into those things anymore. No more diets, no more fads, no more Daniel diets. I'm sorry, church people. Wrong way of thinking. So I hope you're catching what I'm throwing down. Now, if you're following some of those plans as a way of a lifestyle, that's a whole different way of framing it. But no more diets. I don't care how wholesome, how biblical the diet is. It cannot be about a diet anymore. All right. So I think I pounded that into the ground enough. I'm going to kind of just get off that bandwagon there. Another way of thinking about it is, so a couple of things. Our sanctification in Christ is not an overnight thing. What makes you think your weight loss journey is going to be, right? You didn't gain the weight overnight. You're not going to lose it overnight. Time. You get to embrace time. Now, one thing I also will say here, see, my journey took me 5.5 years, but you see, I didn't have a coach. I didn't follow a list. I didn't follow a plan. I just fumbled my way through and just made little changes and tweaks here, and there. I don't remember half of the things that I did. That's why it took me 5.5 years. When you work with me, I get to help you shortcut that. So it's not going to take you 5.5 years. But even if it did, this is now a lifestyle. That's also what gets to happen. It is a lifestyle. We're not starting and stopping. We're not restarting. We're not anything. When you fall off the horse, when you have a challenging week or whatever, you get to learn from that, grow from that, use that as leverage, and you get to not restart. You get to continue. Completely different way of thinking about it, guys. Completely different way of thinking about it. All right. Now, the other thing that I wanted to share around that as well is it's like a marathon. So this journey, it's not a sprint. It's like a marathon. Here's what I mean by that. Okay, so you do all the work, get ready for the marathon. You're at the marathon. You're at the starting line, waiting for that gun to go off. That gun finally goes off. You get the green light. You come out of the gates. Are you running at the very highest and top speed that you've got? No, because you wouldn't last the race. You might make it a fourth of the way through. If you're really good, you might make it a half a way through, but you're not making it to that finish line because it's too much. No, instead, what you typically do with a marathon is you prep for it in the sense of you come out of the gates and you start pacing yourself for the long race ahead, the long haul, the long race ahead, so that you last and you make it to the end, the finish line. In this case, it's not necessarily about making it to the finish line first. That's not what it's about, because it's not a competition either. All right. In this case, it's about pacing yourself for the long haul, for the race ahead. Okay. Now, with that, when you do get to the finish line, I want to remind you guys, it's not about a destination either. Mastery doesn't teach a destination. Mastery teaches that it's about ownership and it's about decision. It's not a destination. Mastery is owning the journey. It's not about a or the perfect plan, because you now become the plan. Entirely different way of thinking about it. That's why it's mastery weight loss and not just weight loss, because it can't just be weight loss anymore. Mastery, owning the journey. That's why sustainability and time are so vitally crucial in this journey, and vitally crucial that you embrace them. So with that, if you like this video, please be sure to click the subscribe button, and also don't forget to click that like button. And you guys, if you're thinking of somebody's like, wow, Billy or Sally, they really need to hear this, share it out on your socials. Get this in front of other people so it can empower people and set them free from the restrictions of weight loss and the diet culture and all that other stuff. It's not about that. Share that video out. I would love to see it be, circle in different socials and all the things there. Share that out. One more thing, you guys. So as I mentioned in the beginning, I do have a brand new framework book that I have out. You can find this on Amazon, Mastery, the Anti-Diet Revolution. You guys, this is 149 pages. It's an easy read. It's a no-brainer. Grab a copy of this book. And if you're lucky, you might grab one of the rare and special copies that have a few errors in it. Hey, I did, I tried to get that book out as quickly as possible. So if you are privileged to get the special edition, then you'll find a few errors in there. Nonetheless, it's still powerful stuff that's in there. Grab your copy today. So, lastly, right now I'm giving away my 3 secrets to help you not only lose weight, but to feel energized and to get healthy without dieting or starving, without all the lists and all the supplements and spending thousands of dollars on shakes and supplements and all of that. In just 3 one-on-one live sessions with me, you will be equipped to be able to stand on a foundation that you'll never be moved from ever again by this industry. I expose the 3 biggest lies in this mini boot camp that is keeping people sick, stuck, and overweight, because that's how that industry makes money. And I am showing each person that God brings me how to fuel their body God's way with real food and how to keep the weight off for life once they've lost the weight. That is my mini boot camp. All right. It's not a workout plan. It's not an eating plan. It establishes a foundation. Basically, I take apart the mirage that's been built in front of you by the industry, and I set you on a foundation of freedom, a foundation that you will never be moved from again. That is my promise. And it's not about restriction. It's not about frustration. It's not about depravity. That's what the enemy has done with food, but that's not the way God designed it to be. So join that boot camp. There will be a link to join that boot camp in the description below. I highly, highly encourage you to join that boot camp. Get set free. In addition to that, maybe you're not ready for the boot camp yet. Book a strategy call with me. That's free. All right, let's unpack what your next steps are going to look like moving forward. Let's unpack that. All right. Either way, get into my world. Let's connect. Love to connect with you. So with that, you guys, you'll find the links to everything below in the description. Have a great rest of your day or evening, depending on where you are in the world and what time of day you are listening. And I will catch you on the next one, the next Warrior Wednesday Wellsprings. Thank you for joining me.